Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome. I jumped the gun way too early. Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. I got Rick on Zoom. We have video now.
I know, crazy.
Making progress that was planned progress, but coronavirus ended that planned progress. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always. We got a lot to get to in this episode. I believe, did I say the date? It's April 14th, Tuesday.
I don't know what date it is.
The NFL draft 400. Is 10 days away, friends. 10 days away. So we got a lot of news pertaining to that. We're going to finish our ranking series this week, or early ranking series this week, with our top 12 tight ends. On this episode, we're going to talk about the top 6, and then we'll move on to the other 6. The other 6 should probably be more interesting than this episode, but I'm not telling you not to listen to this one because it's important. We will spend probably 25 minutes on this episode, I promise.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to jinx it, but yeah, we know the news.
Yeah, is always long. Before we get into the news, check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at thefantasychampions. Like us at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Subscribe wherever you listen: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Just click it really hard. And leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. So let's move right into the news, bro, Chacho.
Let's do it.
So the Athletics, Zach Kiefer expects Nyheim Hines, the pass-catching back from the Indianapolis Colts, to get plenty more action, if that's an actual phrase, on offense this year. Plenty more action on offense. That
makes a lot of sense considering what Philip Rivers likes to do. He could be the Austin Eckler maybe of that offense.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exciting.
No, not really.
The Athletics' Daniel Popper reports the Chargers still very high on third year running back Justin Jackson. I remember I employed him in 2018 for a game. Needed a running back.
When Melvin Gordon was injured or something.
Yeah, and he was good. He was okay. I don't know what this third year running back situation is going to be for him. He obviously is probably going to get a little more opportunity.
Sure.
Austin Eckler is going to get all the work. But I would not be surprised if Justin Jackson got some opportunity. There's also,
I think he will.
There's also a situation where the Chargers possibly draft a running back this year. That could be a thing.
Yeah, probably later in the draft, but I could see that.
The Chiefs signed running back DeAndre Washington. Now, normally this has no fantasy relevance whatsoever. What this does mean is that they're either A, going in Damian Williams' direction, or they're choosing to basically say, hey, we're not going after free agent running backs. Or good free agent running backs. We're going to try to get one in the draft. So we'll have to see where they're going to go. I honestly, some of these rankings and some of the guys I really like, I'm trying to hold off on being really excited about until we actually know who's on the football team. Who the crap they draft.
That's very true.
Like
wait till the draft.
I'm really excited about Damian Williams this year for some reason, and I don't know if I should be excited as I am until after the draft.
We're probably going to draft a running back.
That would be
every mock draft I've seen has him drafting a running back. In the first
which one?
The guy out of Ohio State.
What's his name? Is it? I don't want to say the wrong name.
I know, that's why. That's why.
Anyway, GM Brandon Beane said Devin Singletary definitely could be the workload guy, whatever that means.
I love that.
I like it, but
I love it.
Definitely could.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's for sure. But if it does happen,
why did they say could? That's kind of sad. But Singletary
if it does happen, dude.
Not could. Switch the C for an SH. Should be the workload guy.
He definitely should.
Yes, I agree. So Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa Vailoa. I'm getting there. I'm getting
much
there.
Said it.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Antetokounmpo.
His agent, yeah, it's true. It's going to take me at least a whole season. Insists his client's surgically repaired hip is not at risk for re-injury. Did you see the tape?
I saw a little bit of it. And
he looks okay.
He looks pretty good, I thought.
Yeah. I'm not like super concerned about Tua.
No, I'm not either.
I think it's hip injuries are tough, but he's a lefty and it was on the right side, right?
I don't know, actually. I don't know what side it was on, but yeah, he is a lefty. I don't know which side the injury was on.
Because if it was on his right side, that's the front hip, which could hurt the rotation, but I'm not a doctor, so
yeah,
I'm not going to try to pretend. Tua should be fine. Speaking on Thursday, Jason Leitch, GM of the Bucs, claimed that he has more faith than ever in Ronald Jones. If they go with Ronald Jones, Mr. What's the guy that was taking all the snaps from Rojo last year? Peyton Barber signed somewhere else.
Yeah.
Don't care to remember. Buried on some other team. And Ronald Jones is going to get, if they don't draft a running back, Ronald Jones is going to get all the opportunity here in Tampa Bay. So, and I think that's a good thing considering, Tom Brady now being there and probably making that offense significantly better than it was last year. Giving Ronald Jones more opportunities in the red zone for running backs. Unless your name is Ezekiel Elliott, touchdowns are king. So I think for him, if he scores 12 to 15 touchdowns, obviously he's low end RB1 at the least.
Well, yeah, that's
but. There's just no one there. Like, there's no one in Tampa Bay. I have no reality that this offense is going to suck. And there's no one in Tampa Bay that makes me nervous that they're going to steal the job from Rojo unless they draft a guy next week.
If they don't draft anybody or don't do anything at that spot, Ronald Jones is going to fly on my board.
What round would you want to take him in?
If he's by himself, probably like the 4th or 3rd.
Okay.
He's probably going to go in the 3rd if he's by himself.
This was interesting news. Drew Brees chose to sign with NBC Sports over ESPN when he retires next year, moving ahead of the 8 ball.
Oh, so it's like a guarantee that he's going to retire then? I did not know that.
Yeah,
this is definitely for sure.
I think this is for sure his last year.
He chose NBC.
Yes.
Interesting.
They said that they're grooming Drew Brees to replace Chris Collinsworth, I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank the Lord.
So, wow. The Texans, this is huge news. The Texans acquired Brandon Cooks and a 2022 4th-round pick from the Packers, not the Packers, from the Rams in exchange for the 57th overall pick. So, of the 2020 draft. So, we were talking about on our last episode that reality of Brandon Cooks possibly being traded, and then 3 hours later it happens.
Yeah.
So Brandon Cooks now is, he's a Texan. He's presumably the wide receiver 1 on the team, the main option for Deshaun Watson.
Debatable, but yeah.
I like this for fantasy football. I don't get it for the Texans.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me. I mean, the whole point, at least I thought the whole point of trading DeAndre Hopkins was cap and draft capital.
Right.
Which they just used that draft capital to get Brandon Cooks.
Right.
He was a fine receiver, but he's not even close to what DeAndre Hopkins is.
Right.
So
it's not even the same player.
Fantasy-wise, for Brandon Cooks, it's a better spot than it was with the Rams.
It looks like
at this point,
Bill O'Brien's just bringing in a bunch of field stretchers for some reason.
Yeah. He wants to be the Chiefs,
I guess. I like it fantasy football wise, though. I think it's a great location for Brandon Cooks where you could argue that he was the 3rd guy for the Rams, more specifically last year. Even Robert Woods was ahead of him. So it was like Robert Woods, it was Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and then Brandon Cooks. And with Brandon Cooks finally going to another location, I don't think Will Fuller is going to overtake Brandon Cooks. I think Brandon Cooks is going to be the main outside receiver. He's going to fill the DeAndre Hopkins role. Do I think he's going to get 170 targets or whatever it was he got last year? No. So
no.
He might probably hit 135, 140, which if he does, that's significant fantasy value.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll hit that, but if he does hit that, you're right.
And I think with the negativity surrounding Bill O'Brien and the Texans and just everything that's going on right now, I don't know that Brandon Cooks is going to be that highly valued in fantasy drafts this year. So It should be interesting. He's a guy that I'm definitely looking at drafting. Like, he could be a guy that you could get in the 4th, 5th, or maybe even the 6th round. Could fill that second wide receiver spot for sure.
If he falls in drafts, which he probably will, I don't think he'll go in the first 4 rounds. I don't even think he'll go in the 5th. So if he's like a 6th, 7th round pick, I think that'll be a good spot.
Okay. Christian McCaffery got paid. Your boy got paid.
Well deserved.
He's going to highest paid running back in NFL history. I believe it's $17 million a year, $16 million a year.
16.
So he is the highest paid running back in NFL history now. It doesn't mean anything.
No,
there have been arguments all over the internet about whether a running back should be paid or not, and is Christian McCaffrey considered a running back? And I'm like, shut up. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really honestly matter at all. So he gets paid. He's going to be a Panther for at least 4 more years. I thought that was newsworthy.
Yeah, sure.
The NBC Sports Peter King reported a rival GM said the Patriots love Justin Herbert, but is it enough to trade up for him?
Interesting. The Patriots also had that mentality with Baker Mayfield a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's just hard. It's hard to trade up when you're pick 23.
Yeah, there's no...
And to trade into the top 5.
If you like a guy and the media knows you like a guy and you say, I want to trade up, you lose all your leverage. Yeah.
And if you're the Lions, would you rather trade down and get the 6th or 5th pick or trade down to the 23rd pick?
6th or 5th.
Yeah, you would have to get a lot in return. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's unlikely. I think they're probably just trying to get the Dolphins to pick him at 5.
Yeah.
Because the Chargers want him and they want Tua.
Or vice versa.
That would be a dawn move, I'll tell you that much. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports the Packers and Chargers have been in touch with Oklahoma's quarterback Jalen Hurts. Both those teams, the Chargers don't, but the Packers have a quarterback named Aaron Rodgers on their football team. And so he's a guy that I've been watching a lot of film on, the last couple of days, been watching a lot of film on quarterbacks in this class. And Jalen Hurts, he kind of reminds me a little bit, and not in terms of running style to Lamar Jackson. Everyone will be like, oh, our quarterbacks run differently. Yes, I get it. I'm talking about the fact that he is a better runner than thrower, and that he needs to develop that part of his game in order to have success at the NFL level. So he has trouble doing the basic quarterbacking. He's actually, I think he's further ahead than Lamar Jackson was coming into the league in terms of passing. But he needs some development. He needs some work. And I think he could be a fantastic fantasy option if he works out in the NFL, because he's going to run for like 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
Just like
Lamar. If he does. I heard the Packers are also interested in Jordan Love.
Oh, really? Similar kind of guy. He doesn't rush it as much, but
a young quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Tells you that they're looking for the next guy.
Rodgers knows he's on his way out, too. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport's final piece of news reports Georgia's quarterback Jake Fromm is the favorite among league quarterback coaches. Whatever that means.
I think that just means like, because from what we both have heard and watched from him, he's just like an intelligent quarterback. Yeah. He's going to know offenses very quick when he gets to the NFL, and I think coaches will like that.
Okay. Let's move on to our tight end rankings. This, I don't know why I saved it for last, because it's probably maybe the most boring subject to talk about, because it's always the same. It's literally every year the same.
It's not much different. Yeah.
So we'll start off. Did you send me yours? I
did not, but it's the same as yours except one change.
Okay. So. Why don't you DM it to me right now?
Okay.
So number one, we both right now have Travis Kelce. I think that is a couple years ago, that might have been a question. Right now, it's not. It's like you had Gronk. You were like, yeah, you know what? Maybe somebody else is better than Travis Kelce. Or there's arguments during the regular season. I think George Kittle is a better tight end but Travis Kelce is the better receiver.
I would, I mean, if we're starting an NFL franchise, I would take George Kittle, but we're talking about fantasy football here. And with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback of the Chiefs, I think Travis Kelce is just the clear guy at number one. He's been the clear guy the last 2 years now.
My big question is not whether Travis Kelce should be one, because he probably will finish, unless he gets hurt, will probably finish as the number one tight end in fantasy again.
Yeah.
My question is, where could you, if you were saying, okay, I want to draft a tight end, where would you justifiably say, okay, I like Travis Kelce? What round?
I really wouldn't even want to draft him until
me either,
the fourth round.
Yeah,
but I know
true.
That's never going to happen.
People are going to draft him in the second. See, for me, when I look at him, I kind of try to draw comparisons to, I guess, a previous, I draw to the previous season and I say, okay, who was the fantasy leader? How many fantasy points did Kelce score? Right. So you say, okay, Travis Kelce in half PPR league scored roughly 205 fantasy points. You go to the wide receiver position, which is essentially what he is. And the closest guy to get 205 fantasy points was the wide receiver 10. So for me, I'm justifiably okay with taking him as the 11th or 12th wide receiver off the board. Yeah. If you want to consider him a third wide receiver,
which is late third round.
But for me, I don't see the value. I don't see, does it give you that much of an advantage to have that good of a tight end?
No, not if the other team's tight end can get
a matching total.
It depends. If you're trying to stream tight ends, then yes, it will give you a huge advantage. But if your tight end is Darren Waller or someone, I think you'll be fine.
So Travis Kelce had the same amount of fantasy points as Allen Robinson.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's kind of gross.
Ugh. Yeah, that's kind of gross.
So, and I think Allen Robinson was 11, so he would have been right around 11 or 12 if he was just a straight up wide receiver.
Which is solid.
It's very good. He's always in that range. So it's I don't want to take him before my top 10, 11, 12 wide receivers. I just can't do it. There's no value in it. So clear number one, but don't want to draft him that high. His value doesn't match that of some of the wide receivers and running backs on the board. I have a quick question. No, you know what? I'll save it for Thursday. A quick question for Thursday, if I ever remember it. So number two, George Kittle. I think that rounds, these two guys are definitely in the same tier. Kelce was playing out of his mind before and after he got hurt, but missed 3 to 4 weeks with an injury. So to me, obviously, Kittle is the closest. Last year, I think we were talking about Ertz being number 2. And I think it's clear.
I think I had Kittle number 2 last year. It was a debate though. I think you had Ertz and most people had Ertz.
Yeah. So for me, Kittle is definitely the number 2 guy on my list. I think he's on your list too, number 2.
Yep.
So George Kittle, he's a little bit off what Kelce does just because of how prolific the Chiefs' offense is. San Francisco has really good weeks against good matchups, but I don't think that there is a reality here where George Kittle is this, he's not in a prolific offense that is going to, score 50 touchdowns and, throw the ball over the field. It's just not going to happen. So,
yeah. I mean, the 49ers love running the football. Yeah. I mean, that's just their thing. So, obviously, Kittle's ceiling right there is capped.
Right.
Mahomes is obviously, as much as I love Jimmy Garoppolo, is much better than Jimmy Garoppolo, so that also takes no effect. But Kittle's great. I mean, just off the top of my head, I watched a lot of 49ers games last year, and I know for a fact that he had 2 touchdowns taken away from penalties, and then they ended up scoring off rushing the ball.
Yeah.
And I think he had another one that he dropped. So that's 3 touchdowns right there, and he probably would have caught up to Travis Kelce with those 3 plays. So Kittle's, I think, the very obvious number 2.
He's close.
I wouldn't even be surprised if he has another.
If he ascends ahead of Travis Kelce
with this year. If Garoppolo plays maybe if Garoppolo plays a little bit better this year, I think Kittle can take that next step and be on the same level as Travis Kelce. I think he already pretty much is, but
for sure
he's not far off. I think that's definitely the tier. That's the top tier
in half PPR, 12 team leagues. His draft position is the exact same as Travis Kelce's at 211.
I don't.
So yeah, I still don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I hate to spend the entire quarterback and tight end show saying don't draft the top 6.
I know, but
you kind of have to.
It's just our strat.
Yeah, it's just our strategy. So I think if you had to say like right now a tier 1 for tight ends, I'm definitely going Travis Kelce and George Kittle. Like some people would say,
sure.
You draw the line here of saying, okay, maybe Travis Kelce's in a tier of his own, but I just think Kittle's so close to Kelce that it really doesn't make a difference if you have Kelce or Kittle. And I think the ADP shows that, obviously. So let's get to some more substantive debate.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Ertz, number 3. This is a little off pace to what some people are doing with Zach Ertz. I've seen him 5. I've seen him 6. Ertz had a down year last year.
I saw him 8 on one list.
8? Wow.
Yeah.
Ertz had a down year last year. That's for sure. And he was disappointing. He wasn't the same guy. You wanted him to be like, the team in our league drafted him. And
very high.
Very disappointed in Zach Ertz. He kind of slapped you in the face a little bit, had a bad season. Wentz had a bad season. Their receivers were hurt. The offensive line was hurt. Like many problems. They still won the division. What was it like at 6, 7 and 9? So
they were
bad.
I think they were 9-7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but anyway,
great.
So Ertz had some really great tight end 1 weeks, but then he struggled at times. He's still that talented tight end, and if the offense has some improvement, they're not confused at running back anymore. They're repaired on the offensive line in terms of health, and the only thing that I would say is a major concern is probably the tight end. Is probably the wide receiver position. So Ertz is going to be the guy that's fed the ball here. And there's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. He'll be a top 5 tight end. I think he can probably be a top 3 tight end. And the reason why I personally moved him up a little bit is just right now he's a 5th round pick. And I think he could, in a really good season, he could finish with the same numbers as Kittel and Kelce if he performs at the level he did 2 years ago. And right now at 502, that's much better than spending a 2nd round pick on George Kittle or Travis Kelce. So I have him at 3 purely because I think he probably is right now he's going off as the 5th running back off the board, according to ADP from the Fantasy Football Calculator.
5th tight end.
5th tight end off the board.
Really?
Yeah. Ingram and Andrews are ahead of him. So, but I think the value there is actually relatively decent. If you're into drafting tight ends high, I think Ertz is probably a perfect option for you, and that's why I have him ranked a little bit higher than some of these other guys.
Yeah, for me, a lot of people are going to be looking at last year and getting burned because they took him in their 2nd round or early in the 3rd round,
right? And
he just choked. But it's not like the Eagles did a whole lot to change their offense this offseason.
Right.
I think Ertz is honestly still Carson Wentz's security blanket.
Yeah.
They did add they did booster the offensive line a little bit, which is huge because I think that was a big problem for Carson Wentz last year.
Right.
And he was still pretty solid. Mm-hmm. But you add a better offensive line, and I think Zach Ertz is going to get the ball more.
Yeah.
It's if they draft a wide receiver, obviously that's going to make a little bit of a difference. But the only problem that I see is Dallas Goedert. And is he going to be like how much? Goddard. Are they going to use him a lot?
Honestly, don't know how to say his name, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
but
how much? Yeah, that's a fair point.
Like how is he going to get used? Which is why I considered moving Zach Ertz a little lower on this list. But to me, he's still the 3rd tight end.
Yeah, I hate to go back to last year's big 3, but to be honest with you, I just don't think that there's some concerns for the guys that I ranked 4, 5, and 6, and we'll get into that.
Yeah,
but I think for these guys like Ertz, this is if he burns us this year, he's done. Like he's moving down to like 9.
Oh yeah.
So he's see you later, Zach Ertz. But I think for this year, I think you can get another really good year out of him. Is this a contract year? I don't know. I wasn't sure.
I can look that up.
Okay, let's move on to the next guy. Mark Andrews. I don't know if we have them ranked in the same spot.
We have 2 different guys here.
All right, so we have them swapped. You like Waller.
I do.
At 4, and I like Andrews at 4. I like Waller at 5. So we just reversed these two guys. I'll explain. We'll talk about both at the same time. So for me, I'm not excited about Mark Andrews by any means, but they did trade away Nick Boyle, so that's a good start. They don't have another tight end there, and if their offense is as good passing the football as it was last year, I think Mark Andrews will probably consistently be that top 5 tight end that he was last year. He gets the target share. He has the ability. He can do it. And I don't see, outside of Nick Boyle being traded, which is an upgrade obviously for him, I don't see any changes really to that Ravens offense that are going to make me think like, oh, Mark Andrews not going to get that, isn't going to get that work. So he's going to get the same work he did last year and probably going to produce the same amount. As far as Darren Waller is concerned, the reason why I have him ranked 1, I initially came out with, the fact that I thought Darren Waller was better and going to be better this year than Mark Andrews was. And I'm kind of coming back on that take because I can't remember who it is, but they brought in a tight end. And
it was Jason Witten.
It was Jason Witten. And I don't like that. And I like the fact that they like to target the tight end position. I like the fact that they like to get the ball to Darren Waller. My concern is that every time they get in the friggin' red zone, Jason Witten's just going to steal touchdowns from Darren Waller, just like that other clown shoe Justin Moreau did all season. And it's like Darren Waller should have had a much better fantasy season last year than he did but he was like robbed by Foster Moreau, robbed by the other tight ends in the offense. Yep. And I think there's a real concern right now that they still have Foster Moreau. They brought in Tony. I was going to say Tony Gonzalez. That is not right. They brought in
flash from the past,
right? But they brought in a brand new tight end, and you're going to now expect Darren Waller to have another top 5 season, or a top 3 season. I don't see that happening. So I would rather have at this point Mark Andrews over Darren Waller just because of that. The situation's for the same for Mark Andrews and for Darren Waller. I love him. I think he's an amazing tight end. I think he's extremely talented, but I think John Gruden's just that stupid.
I mean, you have a point with that. I think these guys are even number 6 too. I think all of these guys are kind of in the same area. The reason I have Waller 4 though, to me, Witten doesn't matter. I don't think they're going to use Witten a lot.
Okay.
Waller also had an insane amount of targets last year, and I think that is a good thing. You said he should have had a better season. You're right. He should have had a better season. He was the number 1 option in that offense passing-wise, which was insane. And did the Raiders do anything in the offseason other than Jason Witten? Who I don't think is really – they're expected to draft a wide receiver at the 12th overall pick.
Which would also take things away from Waller a little bit.
I think it would a little bit, but I think it's still not necessarily a bad thing for Waller.
Yeah.
And then it's not like something that to me is going to crazy affect it because it's not like it's not like Cleveland where it's Austin Hooper and Njoku and Odell and Travers. It would just be whoever they draft at 12. They still have Tyrell Williams.
Right.
And then it's pretty much Waller.
Right.
And so other than those 3 guys, and then maybe Hunter too. You could throw him in there. But it's not like crazy. Mm-hmm. And then for Andrews, I think one thing that Lamar Jackson has made clear in this offseason is they want to get Hollywood Brown involved more in year 2. Right. That they're going to try to use Hollywood Brown a lot. And Mark Andrews had 10 receiving touchdowns last year, which was partly the reason he was great. I don't think he's going to do that again. I love Lamar Jackson, but I don't know if he's going to have the same season as
I agree with you there. Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about at least passing the football. Rushing, he'll do the same thing.
Yeah, and even he might throw for maybe a few more yards, but touchdowns, I'm not sure if he'll have that same total. So
I would argue that Mark Andrews is the safety blanket for Lamar.
I think you could, I think you could make that argument for sure, but I think you can make the same argument that Waller is for Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's true.
At least he was last year.
Very, very true.
So I will see. These guys are both very similar, though.
Yeah. Let's final guy, Evan Engram. We both have him 6. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised Evan Engram's down at 9 in the ECR, I believe, and he's way at the bottom of the list, and it is concerning for me looking at Evan Engram and going why is he so low? Now I understand why the other guy that we'll talk about next week, Hunter Henry, is low, but Evan Engram, man, he's an extremely talented tight end. It is very realistic to think, okay, he gets hurt a lot, which is why he's 6 and not 3.
Yeah.
If you were to say most talented tight ends on this list, I would say Kelce, Kittel, and then probably Engram. because I think Ingram is that talented.
Him and Ertz are super close when it comes to that. I think for me, there's only two concerns with Evan Ingram and why he's lower than Mark Andrews and Darren Waller for me.
Yep.
Those two concerns is one you already mentioned, which was injuries, and then the other concern is Daniel Jones. I like, but is he gonna have a good enough season where he gets Evan Ingram involved?
I think he'll have a good enough season to get Evan Ingram involved enough to have him be a top 5 tight end,
and Sterling Shepard, and who's the other guy?
Yeah. He's got a lot of targets, but the tight end position is just so different where you don't need to have, a million freaking targets to have success.
No, it's true, but Evan Ingram does rely on receptions and yards. Like he gets a lot of touchdowns too, but he's not one of those. He's not like a Mark Andrews.
It's fair to believe, which is why Ingram is 6. It's fair to believe that there is going to be concerns around Daniel Jones having success in the league. And if he doesn't perform the way that it is anticipated and that Giants offense just completely blows, that Evan Ingram is just going to be bad.
Yeah, because Darius Slayton, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard, those 3 guys were used a lot last season.
Yeah.
When Evan Ingram was injured. And now you throw Evan Ingram in the mix, and Saquon Barkley's also used a lot in the passing game too.
Fair.
I do think Evan Ingram's really talented, and if he stays healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes like 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
But those are big ifs.
Yeah, that's fair. There we have it. Our top 6 tight ends in the right amount of time.
Wow, look at that.
Look at that.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Not me.
Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we will talk to you on Thursday with part 2, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at @TheFFChamps.